Hello, welcome to my DIY life. Today we're going to use classic caramel paint and bright yellow, mix it together so that we can make a Victorian sandwich cake. I didn't really know how much I was using of each one. I kind of just eyeballed it to get a color that would look like a cake layer would look. I had no idea what a Victorian sandwich cake was, but I Googled some stuff to figure out how to use those 12-inch foam rounds that I got from Hobby Lobby. So now I'm painting them, and I'm going to paint all along the edges and then also on the slightly on the inside. Don't have to paint the whole thing, so you don't end up needing too much paint. So now I'm just going all along the insides. That middle green part will be covered, so it doesn't matter, but you can just paint just a few inches along the inside because that part will be visible. And I'm just being careful to make sure I have all the green covered, and I'm doing the top and the bottom sides just a few inches in. I'm just comparing them because I mixed more paint and wanted to make sure they were the same color. I think I got it pretty close. Okay, so then I added real brown paint, and this is all apple barrel paint. And I decided that just to make it look more realistic, I was going to add brown paint along the bottom edge because, you know, when you're baking a cake, a lot of times it will look darker along the bottom edge. So to make it look more realistic, I just decided to do that. And I'm going to do that along the entire bottom of the edges of both pieces. As you can see, I switched my brush over. I was using a foam brush, but sometimes those brushes don't always work as well if you're painting on foam. All right, so they're nice and dry, and I feel like that looks pretty realistic. It looks great. So I finished both pieces, and now I'm just going to put some pressure along the edges of them right now, and that's just so that the edges aren't so sharp, to make them a little more rounded and realistic. And you can do that before you paint it. I just decided to do it after. Now I'm going to use this foam cutter to cut these foam strawberries that I got from Hobby Lobby. I know that it looks like I'm going to burn myself, but I promise you I was not burned at all in the filming of this video. You just want to be careful, obviously, because that's really hot. You can see it smoking. I also wore an N95 mask just because I figured there probably was some toxic fume coming from burning this foam. And I had a fan going too, just to improve ventilation. You can see some of those edges are kind of jagged, and I ended up just taking scissors and just cutting those edges off to make it look nice and smooth. That little bag of strawberries at Hobby Lobby, it cost about $5.99, and I used pretty much the entire bag, maybe just except for a few strawberries. And I just cut them right down the center. And that foam cutter I got from Amazon. You can get them at Joann's too. So now I'm just placing the strawberries to kind of see how many I will need. All right, now I'm preparing my fake icing in my piping bag. So I used One Time by Red Devil. You can get it on Amazon or also at Menards. So I'm just it's kind of thick, so I'm just pushing it down in the piping bag, making sure there are no air bubbles. If it looks like I'm struggling right here, it's because I am. It was just kind of thick, so I had to really push on it to get it out. I used one of those bags that comes with a tip on them because I love those. And it's a pretty large star tip on the end that I'm using just to add these little stars all around the edge. Yeah, you can see I was on the struggle bus there. If you mix it up more before you put it in the piping bag, it won't be quite as hard to pipe out. And I'm just deciding to cover the entire edge, but you can still see some of the cake underneath. So now I'm ready to place my strawberries. I'm just gonna gently stick those into the fake icing all the way around. I love one-time lightweight spackling. It's just so easy to use, and it's such a nice bright white color that it looks just like buttercream. All right, so now I'm kind of trying to determine how far apart I need those. So I took some floral foam and I cut it into a piece that will allow the two to be separated, but without being able to see a gap. And I just hot glued it down, held some pressure for a few seconds, just to make sure it dried. Okay. So I decided to just spread icing along the top because I saw some images on Google where that was done for this type of cake. And I'm going to spread it around the top of the cake, but not the entire cake, just kind of toward the edges, but not completely at the edge. And I mixed this up first so you can see it's going on super smooth. And I put a decent layer on there. So now I'm putting some in my piping bag, and I'm going to pipe again, hopefully with less struggle. There you go. So I'm doing the same thing that I did on the bottom layer, on the top layer, and I screwed up there, and you can see I just wiped it with my finger and did it again. It doesn't have to be perfect, and you can always wipe and do it again. Now I'm going to add my strawberries, and I feel like this is now looking like so cute and also very delicious. So I decided to add just a little bit of a dollop of that spackle to the middle so I could put a whole strawberry there. And then I decided to just pipe icing all the way around the strawberry. And clearly I am using every little bit of icing that I can get out of that bag. There you go, beautiful and delicious. So I had noticed in some of the pictures there was powdered sugar, so I just took baby powder and added it to the top for fake powdered sugar. And there you have your beautiful Victorian sandwich cake. Like and subscribe if you want to see more.